In this video, I'm going to take a look at the best US funds to invest in. A lot of investors choose global index funds for the reasonable returns that they provide and the great diversity they give to portfolios. But given that the US market accounts for more than 60% of those global funds in any case, and has been a main driver for those global funds for some time, could investing in US index funds provide you with the diversity you require whilst giving you even better returns? And the funds that I feature in this video have given crazily good nominal returns over the past 5 years. This video is going to give you all the information that you need as part of your own research into determining whether US funds are right for you. So let's start off with the most popular US index fund of all, which is the Vanguard S&P 500 UCITS ETF. And this fund tracks the Standard & Poor's 500 index. This is an index of the 500 largest companies based in the US, and its proportions are determined by market capitalization, which means that the larger the company you are, the bigger proportion of the index that you take. For example, Microsoft, the largest company in this index, accounts for over 7% of it. Although this index is tracked by many fund companies, we are just going to concentrate on the Vanguard one for this video. And this fund is an ETF, or exchange traded fund. And this means that the fund shares are traded on a stock exchange, as opposed to being bought and sold via a fund manager, as would be the case with a mutual fund. Vanguard has many versions of this fund, but if in the UK I wanted a sterling denominated version of it, then ticker VUAG would get you the accumulation version and VUSA the income. Accumulation means that any dividends paid by those 500 or so companies and recouped within the fund are automatically reinvested on your behalf, and you would not have to do anything. The income version, VUSA, pays you the dividends and then you decide what you want to do with them. If your plan is just to reinvest the dividends, then the income version would be a less efficient way of doing this, and would mean having those dividend payments uninvested for a short time whilst you reinvested them into the fund, if that's what you wanted to do. But if your objectives are to draw regular income from this fund, then an income version might fit your circumstances, as you will then receive dividend payments on a quarterly basis. This ETF is passive, meaning that it just tracks the S&P 500 index and does not try to beat it, as would be the case with active funds. If you invested into an active fund, it would cost you more to pay a fund manager to do the analysis and work in trying to beat that index benchmark. There is no guarantee that they will succeed, and you would be taking on additional cost and risk in then trying to do so. This ETF currently consists of 503 of the largest US companies based in the US. The top 10 companies consist of the likes of Microsoft, Apple and Nvidia, and make up about 32% of the fund, and the information technology sector accounts for approximately 29% of it. This ETF is traded on the UK Stock Exchange and is sterling denominated, meaning that you don't have to worry about foreign exchange fees. Yes, its base currency is dollars, but depending on currency fluctuations, this could work for or against you. This fund has a very low OCF, or ongoing charge figure, of 0.07%. You might also see OCF represented as TER, which stands for Total Expense Ratio. Either way, this is the fee that the fund manager charges for administering it, and it's an annual cost. For example, if you have £10,000 invested in this fund, it'll cost you £7 a year OCF. As the fund is an ETF, you would not incur any platform fees were you to hold it with Trading 212 or Invest Engine. I cannot emphasize how important it is to keep your fees low, as they can really eat into your returns over time. And you won't get much lower fees than in this example. Past performance should not be used as an accurate indicator of what will happen in the future, as we can't predict it. However, just for comparison purposes with the other funds that we're going to be looking at today, the 5-year nominal return for this fund is a nice 97.75%. This fund has a risk factor of 6. This is on the higher end of the scale and is synonymous with equity funds generally, and is the same as all the other funds featured in this video. The next fund that we are going to feature is the Ishares Information Technology S&P 500 UCITS ETF, and this fund tracks the information technology version of the S&P 500, which is a market capitalization index once more. The amount of stocks in this fund are reduced to 67, which are the information technology specific ones from the S&P 500. By the way, you may have noticed that both funds featured so far have the initials UCITS in the title. This just means that they're regulated for sale to retail investors like you and I. The fund is accumulating, meaning that dividends get reinvested automatically, and the ticker for it is IITU. If looking for an income version of this fund, there is no sterling denominated one available. The top 10 companies in this fund are similar to those of the S&P 500, but on this occasion make up 73.5%. With this fund, you will focus in your portfolio more narrowly, not only in the amount of companies that you invest in, but also by only investing in one sector. So although still diversified, you do reduce the diversity somewhat, but in doing so seek to achieve those greater rewards by betting on those largest companies, in the hope that the information technology sector will continue to lead the way. Diversity is a freebie and is something that you should consider seriously when constructing your portfolio to help you manage risk. Those could be risks such as increased market price volatility. As with all the other funds mentioned in this video, this one is passive. This fund is traded on the London Stock Exchange and is sterling denominated, so no need to worry about foreign exchange fees, even though the base currency of the fund is the dollar. Its OCF is a bit more expensive at 0.15%, but still acceptable. This means that for every £10,000 you have invested, the cost of the fund will be £15 per annum. As it is once again an ETF, you can purchase and hold it on investment platforms Trading 212 or Invest Engine at no extra cost. The 5-year nominal return for this fund is a staggering 155.1%. And in 2023 alone, this fund saw gains of 57.6%. This is the upside of investing in the biggest growth region, in the biggest sector of the most successful companies on the globe at present. The downside of this narrower concentration and less diversity is that it's susceptible to higher market price volatility, as can be seen in 2022 when it fell by 28.4%, which were much larger falls than in the more diverse S&P 500 fund we spoke about at 18.3%. And the risk profile for this ETF is understandably 6. If you are finding this video useful so far, then I would really appreciate it if you would consider hitting that like button, subscribing to my channel, and to turn on your notifications so that you're aware of new content that I publish. Moving on to the next fund that we're going to be covering, which is the Invesco Nasdaq 100 UCITS ETF. This fund tracks the Nasdaq 100 index, which again is a market capitalized index, and it is made up of some of the largest non-financial US companies, but also some companies from outside of the US. As the title suggests, the fund is an ETF and it has a ticker of EQQQ. This particular version of the fund is an income version. There is an accumulation version of this fund with a ticker of EQGB, but the ongoing charge figure for that version of the fund is a bit more expensive. This fund is a passive fund that consists of 100 stocks with a little exposure from outside of the US. The top 10 companies in this fund are comparable with those mentioned before and account for about 47%. And the information technology sector accounts for just under 50% of the fund. The base currency for this ETF is again the dollar, but it is sterling denominated and is traded on the London Stock Exchange. So again, there's no foreign exchange fees to worry about here, nor would there be if you were to go for the sterling hedged accumulation version, EQGB. The OCF for this ETF is 0.3%, and for the sterling hedged version 0.35%, a little bit more expensive. Both of these fees are still acceptable, albeit higher than the fees mentioned before. So £10,000 invested in EQQQ would be £30 a year, and £35 a year if you go for the accumulation version. As can be seen, you don't get a freebie from hedging to sterling in the accumulation version of this fund. And balancing the effects of hedging against the extra costs is something that you need to consider. Hedging could work for you or against you as currencies fluctuate. But if you do really want an accumulation version of the fund, then that might be the tipping point for you in choosing the EQGB version. As both are ETFs once more, you can purchase and hold them through Trading 212 or Invest Engine at no extra cost. The 5-year nominal return for this fund is a very nice 135.9%, and in 2023 the fund recorded fantastic gains of 54.5%. You could argue that this one is more diverse than the S&P 500 Infotech fund we just looked at, as it has more stocks across more sectors and also has an international flavour to it, but it is still concentrated towards those top 10 companies in the tech sector and is not as diverse as the S&P 500. Market price volatility will also be higher than the S&P 500 VUAG, and in this Nasdaq fund we saw larger falls of 32.6% in 2022. The last US fund featured in this video is a fund which might appeal to those who are seeking a bit more diversity, and it's the Vanguard US Equity Index fund. This is a mutual fund rather than an ETF, and it tracks the Standard & Poor's Total Market Index. This is an index which consists of large, medium, small and micro-sized stocks in the US. The ticker for the accumulation version of this fund is VUSEIDA or VUSEIDI if you want the income version. An alternative way to search for funds across platforms is looking for the International Securities Identification Number, which you see abbreviated as ISIN, and the ISIN can be found in the key investor information document that we mentioned earlier. Being a mutual fund means that the shares are bought and sold via a fund manager as opposed to being traded on a stock exchange, and the fund shares are therefore valued at the end of each day as opposed to throughout the day, as would be the case with an ETF. But this is really nothing to worry about for the average investor. The main difference for me between mutual funds and ETFs is their availability on investment platforms, and I'll talk about that in a little while. Like all of the others mentioned, this fund is a passive one, and it consists of 3,603 stocks across various sectors, with the tech sector having the highest proportion at 28%. Given that some of the stocks in this fund consist of smaller and micro companies, you could arguably get better returns in good market conditions, as this is when the smaller companies tend to do better. The top 10 companies in this fund are very similar to the others mentioned and account for 27.5% of the fund. On this occasion, the base currency is sterling, and it is also bought and sold in sterling, so again, no foreign exchange fees. The ongoing charge figure is a low 0.1%, meaning that it'll cost you £10 for every £10,000 invested per year. As this is a mutual fund rather than an ETF, you cannot purchase and hold it on sites such as Trading 212 or InvestEngine. But a reasonable alternative investment platform to purchase and hold this fund on would be Vanguard's own, where you would have to pay additional platform fees of 0.15%. Therefore, your total fees would be 0.25%. This is still reasonable and cheaper than the Invesco Nasdaq 100 ETF that I mentioned earlier. The 5-year nominal return for this fund is a respectable 77.4%. Although not reaching the high returns of the other funds featured in this video, this fund still beats the nominal returns of the Vanguard FTSE All World and the Vanguard FTSE Developed World Index funds. And this fund gives you more diversity than the other US fund featured in this video, where it has less concentration on those top 10 companies, is more diverse across all the sectors, and includes smaller companies. So there you have it, 4 US funds that have given better nominal returns than global ones. The trade-off for this is a reduction in diversity, where you concentrate your portfolio more towards the top 10 companies in the US in the tech sector. And with this lower diversity comes the increasing chances of higher price volatility, as was seen in 2022. But being index funds, they are still diverse, and certainly more diverse than investing in individual stocks. Also, passive global index funds have over a 60% tilt towards the US market in any case, so investing in a US fund or a global fund is going to come down to your personal choice in the end. If you believe that the US is going to continue to be a dominant global driver, then maybe a US fund is something that you consider. But if you feel like future growth lies elsewhere, or you're just not sure and you want to hedge your bets, then trying to include all potential future growth in a global fund might be your preference. Whatever you choose, I am betting that you'll do just okay if you invest regularly, be patient, don't panic when markets fall, and just invest for the long term. If you are also interested in doing some research around global funds, then this next video might help you. Once again, thanks very much for watching.